Hey guys, welcome to another video. So if you couldn't tell by my very foreign looking name that I am of German descent, and so I decided to make a video about the cinema of my motherland. So let's just get right into it. German cinema began in 1895, when Emil and Max Skladanowski presented their film projector, the Bioscope, in Berlin. This was actually the first time that moving pictures was presented to a public audience, preceding the Lumiere brothers' presentation of their film projector, the Cinematograph, just a month later. Oskar Mester was responsible for many inventions in early German film, including the Maltese cross projection system and Tonbilder, film that was synchronized with gramophone sound. Films in Germany were first shown in kintops, which were converted storefronts with a white canvas on the wall. The first permanent movie theater in Germany was established in 1906, and by 1910 there were over 1,000. Although film became very popular very quickly among the German lower class, the upper class and the bourgeoisie felt that film could be a threat to their social status. So in 1907, films were required to have a censor certificate. Cinema wasn't considered an art form until 1913, with the premiere of the film The Student of Prague, starring Paul Wegener. It told the story of a college student who comes across a sorcerer who promises to give him money to woo a countess he loves in exchange for an item in his apartment. When the item turns out to be himself, the student must face his doppelganger when it starts meddling between him and the countess. The movie had many technical innovations, including the doppelganger effect by using double exposure. Prior to World War II, movies were in high demand in Germany. However, there are more international imports from Italy, France, America, England, and Denmark, while domestic films only accounted for 10 to 20% of the films shown. At this time, Kaiser Wilhelm began to see film as a tool for propaganda, and in 1917, the German High Command formed UFA, Universum Film AG, which brought together prominent financiers and industrialists with the large film companies in Germany. According to a film historian, the official mission of UFA was to advertise Germany according to German directives. These asked not only for direct screen propaganda, but also for film characteristics of German culture and film serving the purpose of national education. In 1916, the German government decided to ban all foreign films. This obviously led to a dramatic increase in films produced in Germany. After the devastation of World War I, German audiences started to prefer films with themes of violence, cruelty, and betrayal, which led to the German Expressionism movement. One of my early videos is actually about German Expressionism, so if you'd like to learn more about that, you can just click on one of the links up here. The most famous film to come out of that era was the 1919 classic, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Director Robert Vine hired Expressionist painters Walter Reimann and Hermann Worm to create the sets. They experimented with perception, constructing a nightmarish world of jagged lines and ill-matched patterns to create a tone of anxiety and uneasiness. This dark period in film lasted throughout the 20s, with films like The Golem, How He Came into the World, Nosferatu, and Metropolis. By the mid to late 20s, German cinema started to gear towards a new genre, new objectivity, which moved away from the fantasy aspect of Expressionism to a more realistic portrayal of life. Georg Wilhelm Pabst is a film director that is most associated with this genre, with his films like Joyless Street, The Loves of Jean Ney, and Pandora's Box. This era depicted a range of social problems like prostitution, labor disputes, inflation, and homosexuality. However, the golden age of German cinema was about to come to an abrupt end. While the Nazis rose to power in the 1930s, many German filmmakers emigrated to the United States, most notably Fritz Lang. Joseph Goebbels was named Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda by Hitler in 1933, and wanted Fritz Lang to be head of his propaganda film unit, and Fritz Lang was like, nope, I'm out. Despite the thousands of filmmakers that fled the country and the immense censorship, this decade in German cinema actually had a lot of technical achievements. Leni Riefenstahl's documentary movies are noted for their unique camera angles and lighting effects, despite their heavy themes of Nazi propaganda. Her film Triumph of the Will documents Hitler's 1934 Nuremberg rally. Riefenstahl uses special techniques to ensure that the audience is drawn to Hitler, attempting to manipulate them into believing he is their hero. She also made another documentary film, Olympia, which depicted the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin that also had Nazi propaganda. The most successful film released during the Third Reich was The Great Love in 1942. The film is a romantic drama, but the titular Great Love is the male protagonist's dedication to his country. After the war, Germany was divided into different zones, occupied by the Soviet Union, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. The Soviet zone reopened cinemas immediately, showing older, non-propagandistic films, while the American zone slowly brought back the film industry with a very strict denazification policy, guided by the Office of War Information Overseas Motion Picture Bureau, or OWI. In 1945, German films were confiscated by the OWI in hopes of impressing upon the German people their responsibility for the war. The first post-war German production to be approved by the OWI was And the Heavens Above Us, showing a destroyed Berlin and the hardships of its citizens. Between 1949 and 1963, West German post-war cinema met the need for light entertainment by producing simple comedies and melodramas, like The Black Forest Girl, The Trapp Family, and Sissy, The Fateful Years of an Empress. In 1962, a group of young filmmakers penned the Oberhausen Manifesto, which stated that Papa Cinema is dead, and paved the way for a radical revamping of German cinema. They concluded that the cinema of the post-war era was bland and not creative. Heavily influenced by the French and American New Wave, this era of new German cinema contained the theme of rejection of the typical bourgeois lifestyle and the loneliness that eventually results from that rejection. This attempt at a new meaningful film culture was not economically successful, but it eventually evolved into a strong industry that received international acclaim by the late 1960s and into the 1970s. Prominent filmmakers in this movement include Werner Herzog, Margaret von Trotta, Wim Wenders, and Rainer Werner Fassbinder. I'm really trying with these German names, you guys. Rainer Werner Fassbinder was the most prolific of the movement. His 1974 film, Ali, Fear Eats the Soul, dealt with modern societal prejudices. It tells the story of two lovers who are separated by the divides of race and age, questioning the existence of oppression in modern society. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, German films started to get recognition overseas, with The Tin Drum being the first German film to win an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1980, and Das Boot being nominated for 6 Academy Awards in 1983. Theater attendance in the 1980s dropped significantly because of the popularity of video cassette tapes and private television channels. While Germany moved towards reunification, film went from serious political dramas to lighter comedies, such as Doris Dolly's 1985 film Men. The German comedy wave continued into the 1990s. By the end of the decade and into the new millennium, German film had a small resurgence. These films dealt with national discourses of Germany's past, such as Goodbye Lenin, Downfall, and The Lives of Others, which won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film of that year. In my research, I could barely find any information about the German film industry after 2010, and that's because their industry is very underfunded. Domestically, German movies only hold a market share of 20 to 25%. Although they've had a few gems, competition from other European countries and Hollywood have proven to be too difficult for German cinema to be internationally noticed. And unfortunately, German cinema hasn't reached the acclaim it once had since the 1920s. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video and you found it interesting, please give it a thumbs up. That would be amazing. And if you really like my content and you would like to see more, please subscribe. And if you have any comments, criticisms, or questions, or film-related topics that you'd like me to cover in my next video, please let me know in the comments down below. Alright guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!